everybody, welcome to episode 73 of My Yarny Corner. My name's Alex and I live in Yorkshire in the UK, and this is a podcast all about knitting and crochet. So how have we all been? It's been a whole month since I've been to speak to you. Well, there's been a few little things on the channel, but you haven't actually seen me to talk to. So I hope that you've all had a great month and you've got lots of crafting done. You are going to have to take me as you find me today. Everything is just an absolute mess. The sofa's a mess. I haven't sorted the cushions out. I need to hoover up. I haven't hoovered for 2 days. The whole house is a mess, but I know that friends don't care, so it's fine. So I do apologise for the mess that you find me in today. I will talk about live stuff right at the end of the video, so if you want to stick around and find out why we are in such a mess, I will be talking about that right at the end. So first of all, anything that I talk about, any patterns that I mention, will be linked in the description box below this video. As usual, I have zero notes. I am just in complete Alex style winging it. It's really, really rainy outside. It's a bank holiday weekend in the UK. Whenever we get a bank holiday weekend, we get really bad weather. So it is really rainy outside. I'm hoping the light's okay. I've got loads of lights on, but if it's not, I'll try and sort it in editing. I can see something here, but I think it's my screen protector on my phone, and I don't think it's actually on the camera, so I'm just going to leave it. I think it's my screen protector's got a mark on it. Anyway, right, so we have some finished objects. We have some works in progress. I have a new acquisition that I want to share with you all. I don't quite know where to start, so I'm going to start with socks. I'd never have socks to show you because when I make them for Danny, he just takes them. So I don't actually have them here. They are currently in the wash. But I said after the last video, didn't I, that there was something coming to the channel. It was the Lumberjack socks. I did a pattern tutorial for the Lumberjack socks, and I did it on YouTube. So I went through the whole sock on YouTube, and there's a free pattern for that on the website. I'm going to pop a picture on the screen. So yeah, there is a free pattern for that on the website. That was the first finished object that I had this month, was those socks. I had such a blast making that tutorial for you all, and I'm so pleased that so many of you that weren't sock knitters that had tried it and managed it. That just warmed my heart so much. I have seen so many Lumberjack patterns coming up and about, and it just made me so happy. So that is a free pattern. It's not on Ravelry, it's only on the website. I will leave a link to that pattern in the description box below this video, and when you've got the pattern you can click the link for the YouTube tutorial, or you can just go on to the playlists on YouTube and you'll see the YouTube tutorial there. It's available for everybody. You don't have to click it through the pattern or anything like that. I think it's under knitting help and tutorials. I've got a knitting help section on the playlist, and I've got tutorials, and I think I linked it under both. But yeah, that's there. So I made the first socks for me, and then Danny wanted some. So I did go ahead and make him some in his football colours. Danny supports Liverpool. Now, red and white can be a number of football teams, so they are aimed at Liverpool socks, but I'll pop a picture on the screen. It's the same sock pattern as it is the Lumberjack sock pattern. I just changed the colours around and made Danny a pair of socks. I rushed to get them done for last weekend because it was the last Liverpool game last Sunday. Was it last Sunday? Whatever day it was. And I did manage to get them done in time for Danny, so he was really happy to have his socks ready in time for that. So I did make a pair for Danny as well. I think he's had some other socks. Has he had some other socks this time? I'm sure. Let me just check my Ravelry. I'm sure he has. I think I've made 3 pairs of socks this month. Let's just bring Ravelry up. I'm sorry for never having socks here to show you. It's always the same. When I make them for Danny, he likes them straight away. And obviously mine, I finished them right at the beginning of May. I've got a work in progress for socks to show you, so that's okay. Let me just have a little look, because I'm sure I made some other socks for Danny. No, I didn't. Oh no, I made some for me. Were they for me? Yes, I made some for me. I didn't think I'd made myself any socks apart from the Lumberjack ones. It's I'll pop a picture on the screen. It's going to be easier for you to see it on the screen. This was some Knit Picks Felici that my friend sent. I think I've got one ball of Knit Picks Felici left, and that's my last one. But this was some Knit Picks Felici that I'd been saving for myself. And my friend had sent me it. I think it was for my birthday. She lives in Canada. And obviously Knit Pick Felici, I don't know whether it's Canadian or US, I'm not actually sure. But she'd sent it to me, and it was just, I've been saving it and just thought, you know what, I'm going to use it. So I did finish those socks as well. Now, I think that is it for the socks. They are just a vanilla sock recipe. If you want to know what my recipe is, I do have a beginner's recipe sheet. It's not a sheet at all. I've got a beginner's sock recipe on the website. I will link it in the description box below. And it just tells you, if you've never made socks before, I talk through what my numbers are, but also give you options on there if you want, where you can modify. So if you're new to sock knitting, you know, I'll say cast on 64 stitches, but here you can also cast on 60 stitches or 72 stitches. And I give the places where you can modify to get your own sock recipe. And I think there's a notes section at the end of it as well, I believe. I'm sure I put that in. I think I updated it to add that, where you can put your own notes on. It's just, if you're new to sock knitting, it might be something helpful. But that's basically what my recipe is as well. If you're interested in that, it's free on the website. I'll link it below. Right, I think that's it for socks. So I had also, you can probably see it in the background, I had been working on the Mitered square blanket, and I did finish it. I didn't do it as big as what the pattern called for. I did 8 by 10 squares, and the pattern had called for 8 by 12. So this is a Sirdar pattern. It's the Sirdar dual spun pattern. And this is the amazing, amazing blanket. It is all made with acrylic yarn. It's unbelievably cosy, unbelievably squishy. The border is just a knitted border. So all I did for the border is I went round and picked up all the stitches along one edge, knit 5 rows, then cast off. So I did the 2 long edges first, and then I did the 2 short edges, and I'm so pleased with it. The yarn was donated to me from a lovely, lovely lady at Knit Group who, she makes up some amazing blankets. She really does. I've talked about it before. She has just made the most beautiful, beautiful baby blanket. She makes the same ones, and she donates a lot to the Leeds Baby unit. And I think that's where the latest one is going, to the Leeds Baby unit. It's amazing. It's all pastels and beautiful. She gets a lot of yarn donated that we can use at Craft Group, and we can use if we're doing something for charity, or obviously for her to knit for charity. So she donated the yarn to me so I could make one of these blankets, which was so very kind. So the yarn has been donated by everybody in our village. I know that's what she would want me to say. So I am so pleased, absolutely beyond pleased with it. I asked for dual colours. I'm really struggling with my words today. I'm tired. I'm really sorry. I asked for dual tones, and that's what she gave me. So it's just filled with all of the most amazing colours. I kept it 8 by 10 because I wanted to use it on the sofa, and I can't have it trailing on the floor or going too long because the cats get on it and then they do this. So I've got to keep it a certain size when I want to use it as a sofa blanket. As it turns out, it's been used for something entirely different. You will find out at the end. And if you can hear that noise, that is a dog snoring. She's just sat down here and she's snoring. So I do apologise if you can hear her snoring. But yeah, so I am so pleased with it. It ended up taking just under 4 weeks, I think it took to make. And I actually worked out that I spent 80 hours on this blanket. Each square was taking me 45 minutes and I worked out it had taken me 80 hours. I've never done that. I've never worked out that for anything. I was just sitting curious. I read 3 books while knitting this. So I managed to do a lot of reading. It was so easy. And actually, we were talking about this at Knit Group the other day, about the border and is it tricky to do. The border was the easiest part. It really was. It was so easy. I thought picking up all of those stitches, because on the long edge I had 10 blocks. Each block was 20 by 20, so I picked up 20 stitches for each block, so that was 200 stitches. And I was thinking this is going to take a while. It really didn't. It really did not at all. So it's all DK weight yarn. The pattern calls for Sirdar dual spun, which is an Aran, I believe, and I think it calls for 5mm needles. Obviously I used DK, so I used 4mm needles. And I'm just so pleased with it. It was so easy to do. The only difference with the Cozy Memory blanket, I think, is the decreases here. You've got a wider section on this one that you can tell, as opposed to what you get with the Cozy Memory. But that's the only difference. So I will link this pattern in the description box below. It's a paid for pattern. But it's very similar to the Cozy Memories, which is a free pattern. So, you know, do your own thing. You can also do the Cozy Memories in DK weight. You just, you know, do your own modifications. But I am really pleased. I have a favourite colour. Let me just find it. Where's my favourite colour? I can't find it now. Oh, there it is. That's my favourite one. And that was my starting one. And I will say, with this, although it was all DK weight yarn, a lot of the yarn was different thicknesses like you get with DK weight, and it hasn't made a scrap of difference. You can't, like this one here is a really thick DK, and which one, that dark blue one, there it is. That one is a very, very thin DK. It makes no difference whatsoever. It was a really good project for me to do this May. It really was, because it was so mindless. Like I say, I've had a lot going on in May. You'll find out at live stuff at the end. So it's been a really good project for me. Possibly the only project that I've needed this month. So I'm so pleased that it's finished. I will be making another. Danny wants one for the bed for the winter upstairs, but I may not make another one of these, because you will see in acquisitions something else. But oh, I really enjoyed it. I really did. And what I liked about it, I've tried fingering weight mitered square blankets before, and I find them easy, mindless, all of the same things, but I find them overwhelming because the squares come out so small, so you've got such a lot to do. With this being DK weight, and I knew that I was probably going for the 8 by 10 square size, I knew I only had 80 squares to do. So, you know, there's never that thing of rushing to finish a project, but we all do. Once we start something, we want to finish it. We might not want to rush, but we certainly want to finish it. I don't tend to like having things just lying around too long. So I did want to have, you know, that end goal in mind. So knowing that I only had 80 squares to do made it really easy. If I'd have done the 8 by 10, 8 by 12 that the pattern called for, it would have still been only 96 squares. I only knocked off 16. So it's still not unachievable. So it was a lovely, lovely project. So if you want to start one of those, you could maybe set your goal at, a square took me 45 minutes, so you could do one a day, you know, and you'd be get in your blanket pretty quickly. But yeah, so that is my last finished object for May. So then once I finished that, I was thinking, what am I going to cast on now? I do have some more socks on the go. I've not got a blocker with me to show you. So I immediately cast on socks for Danny because I just always do. So this one is, I've got the yarn over there. Oh, yarn label, sorry. It's a head over heels, Stylecraft head over heels, and the colourway is Swagger. I never knew that. I didn't even look at the colourway. That's so Danny, isn't it? Swagger. It's a gorgeous yarn. It really is. So this is how it's knit up. So I've got his first sock done. I added a bright green heel, which was, I think it was one of mine left over from Advent, you know, to be honest. And a black toe. For these ones for Danny, because the vanilla, I've cast on 68 stitches. If it's a pattern sock for Danny, I do 72 stitches. If it's a vanilla one, I do 68. If it's a rib, I do 64, but on a bigger needle. So if I do 64 stitches for Danny I normally knit on a 2.5mm needle. All my socks are knit on that. If I do 64 stitches for Danny, which is the number that I do for myself, and if I do them on a 2.75 for a vanilla sock, they don't fit him. So I have to do 2.5 on 68 stitches. Now there's marginal difference in that. There really is marginal difference. I think it should work if I do 64 stitches on 2.75, but it doesn't. They're too tight for him. So 2.5 and 68 stitches works well. It's weird. If I do him a pattern sock, it makes them tighter still, usually if there's a pattern on it. So I do 72 stitches. But if I'm doing a ribbed sock for him, like the Lumberjack socks that I just did, I did him 64 stitches with a 2.75 needle, and they fit him like a glove. So it's really strange, isn't it, how just making them little tweaks to things can really make a huge difference. He wants some more library sock pattern socks. They are his absolute favourite. Those and the puffle socks are his favourite socks. I just made these vanilla. Because I've cast on a complicated pattern. Well, it's not a complicated pattern at all, just a more intensive pattern. So I wanted something really easy for Danny's socks, so I just cast on vanilla. I do 20 rounds of 2x2 ribbon for the cuff, 40 rounds for the leg, a shadow wrap heel, and then for Danny I do 64 rounds for his foot, and then a wedge toe. And I have cast the second sock on. I cast it on last night. I've got something in my eye. Hopefully I've edited that out. So I've just got that little bit cast on for him. So I am on the way with the second sock, but not a lot of progress at the moment because I have cast on a new project. Well, I cast it on I think it was last Saturday when we had Harry. I'm sure it was. So, yeah, it was, because I talked about it on the Facebook group. I decided to cast on the Versities Unite. I was going to knit group, not last week, the week before, and I wanted to cast on the Versities Unite. I just fancied doing a shawl. So I cast it on, and I got about halfway through section 1, and then it dawned on me. You know, you just all of a sudden something dawns on you. And it dawned on me that I had bought a load of patterns in Stephen West's last birthday sale. One of them patterns was the Textures Unite. So it looks very similar to the Versities Unite. Where the Versities Unite is more or less all garter stitch, the Textures Unite has a lot more going on. And I kept thinking, I'll do that next time. I've started this now. And I just couldn't get it out of my head. So I ended up frogging the Versities Unite and casting on the Textures Unite. So I'll show you a picture of what it looks like. I'm not showing anything on there. There's no pattern there, but that is the Textures Unite. So you can see there's all different sections. It does start with a brioche section. Now, I can do brioche. It's not my favourite thing to do. I'm going to be completely honest. It's not something I really enjoy doing at all. I can do it. I love the effect of it. I absolutely adore how brioche looks, and I love the squish factor that it gives you. But it's not something I veer towards knitting at all. But I really wanted to do this. So I thought, you know, brioche isn't something that I'd turn away from. If a pattern has brioche, I'll do it. It's not something where I think, oh, I'm not doing that because it's got brioche. It just takes a little bit longer. Each row needs knitting twice, so it just takes a little bit longer. It's just not something that I'd veer towards. I won't veer away from it, but I wouldn't veer towards it. It's just one of those things I'm like, okay, I'll do it. So section 1 did start with brioche. Let me get it out. I am using the Yarnsmith's sock yarn that I think I've shared it already on a podcast, either last one or the one before, I think it is. It's the Yarnsmith's new sock yarn range that's come out. So I got these two. I was planning on making socks with these, but they are so soft. I just don't want to put them in socks. So I've started off with these two. And this is where I am at the moment. Oh, pull the yarn up a little bit. So this is section 1 of the Textures Unite. So brioche, if you're not familiar with what brioche is, it's kind of like, it's a form of double knitting. So you'll knit across the row in one colour, then you'll knit across the same side in the second colour. So you're effectively knitting two sides on one side. Do you know what I mean? So if you're on this right side, you'll knit across in the pink yarn and you'll be doing these stitches. And then you'll slide all your stitches back and you'll knit across in the green yarn and you'll be doing these stitches in between. So when you turn the work, the green becomes the prominent colour. So if you're on this side, you'll knit across in the green and you'll do the knit stitches. And then you'll knit across in the pink and you'll do the purl stitches. So it just takes a little bit longer. It's not difficult. All it is knitting and purling. That's it. The way I look at brioche, the stitches are labelled as brioche knit and brioche purl. So when it tells you to do a brioche knit, it says... how does it write it now? Let me have a look. BRK, brioche knit. I take that as both loops knit. So you'd go through both loops when you do the knit stitch. And brioche purl, both loops purl. So you know to go through two loops. And when you're slipping a stitch, you're slipping it and wrapping the yarn around. So you sort of... I did a little bit of a it wasn't a tutorial. A little bit of a tips and tricks video, and when you slip the stitch, I called it a friend. You slip it and you give it a friend, so you need to wrap the yarn around the stitch that you slip. So once you've got your head around that, brioche is really easy. And you know that if obviously you're knitting with pink yarn, you're only working on the pink stitches. If you're knitting with green yarn, you're only working on the green stitches. So once you've got your head around how it works, it's a lot easier than it seems. I'll link that video in the description box below. I'm not explaining it well here. I had thought about it before I filmed the video. But anyway, nevertheless, it's taken... Well, it's Sunday today. I started this a week last Saturday, so it's taken me quite some time to do it. Just to get to this section. I've done all of the increase rows now and I'm on the decrease. This bit's going to go much quicker because the increase rows were a 4-row repeat, and obviously you're doing each row twice, which turned it into 8 rows, whereas the decrease rows are only a 2-row repeat. So it's going to be much quicker. So I'm hoping to have this finished by, well, within the next couple of days. And then I'll be moving on to other sections. I think that's it for brioche. I haven't checked through the pattern. I could be wrong, but I think it's it for brioche. I've just realised I've not talked about two things. I'll do it in a minute. But I'm glad the brioche section was first, because it got it out of the way for me. So I'm really pleased with it. I think it looks lovely. I love pink and green together, I really do, and it is just beyond squishy. I think this is, looking at the pattern, I think this is the biggest section. It is, yeah. See here, this is the section I've just done here. So it's certainly the biggest. Look at that little tiny section there. It's certainly the biggest section that I've done. My other colours, let me just move that over there. My other colours, I think you needed 6 colours. I'm using a Drops Flora. Oh, also the Textures Unite comes in 2 sizes. Normally with the Stephen West, I always do the size large, but it does say on his Ravelry that the size small is actually a really decent size shawl, and the size large is more like a slanket. So he said that most knitters would prefer the small, so I've gone for the small size. So I'm using Drops Flora as well. This gorgeous pink yarn, that's one of ours. I'm using this beautiful one. I think this one was what Jeanette sent me from Crafty Clegs Creations. It's got lots of pink speckles. I've gone really pink on it, really pink. And this amazing one, which was a gift from my friend Melanie. I have 2 of these, actually. I was going to put them both into one project, and I just thought I'm going to make the most out of them. So I'm using this one. And yeah, they're all my colours. So I think it's going to look beautiful. Normally with the Stephen West, I always go for like bright but dark or moody. Whereas this time I've gone really girly, which isn't like me, but I haven't got any shawls that are really girly. So I'm not sure I've gone right with this. With the others, with the other colours, it does sit nicely, but I don't know if I may change this at the last minute. I don't know if it's just a tad dark, because that's all very girly and pastel apart from that, but that's like a pop of colour. I don't know if that's just gonna be a little bit out of place. I'm gonna see. You can't really tell until you start knitting, can you, really? You've got to see how they come together. So I'm gonna see how it goes. And that is that. So they're my only 2 whips, the sock and the Textures Unite. I have designed a couple of patterns as well this month. It's been such a busy month. It's currently in test, but I'm going to show you them now. So we did some 50-gram sets of yarn in the shop, and I had one myself. It was the Blossom Pack, and you got 5 50-gram skeins, which was 1,000 meters of yarn. Each 50-gram skein is 200 meters, so there were 5. They were really good value. I can't remember what we priced them at, but it was cheaper than buying 1,000 meters separately. I did make it so it worked out a little bit cheaper, and I really wanted to design something. So I've had this Blossom set sat there waiting. I really wanted to design a shawl, but I didn't want a huge shawl. I wanted something that was beginner friendly, but I didn't want a huge shawl. So then I had the bright idea of a matching set. So I thought, wouldn't it be great to have a shawl and mitts set that you could get out of one of these yarn sets that we sell? So that is what I did, and I've called them the Lollipop Shawl and the Lollipop Mitts. So this is the shawl. I absolutely love it. I really do. It's a really, really easy pattern. There's a few eyelet rows on just to finish it. Not a massive amount. Nothing's overwhelming. I really wanted to be very specific with this and aim it at beginners and not have something where it was just going on and on. I wanted it just big enough so you could wear it as a scarf, which you can. It's the same size as a lot of my small shawls. It's not a shawlette, it's a shawl size, but it's just not a large one, it's a small one. So it fits lovely for a scarf. I think it's 52 inches wingspan, so it's still a great size, but it's not a massive one. The trickiest thing is there's an I-cord cast on. That's the trickiest thing for a beginner, but it's only I think it's a 6 row or a 7 row. I can't remember now without looking at the pattern. So it's an easy one to do. Other than that, it's really, really easy. So I designed the shawl first, and then I thought, right, I'll get on with the mitts. So I also designed the mitts. So if you're using one of these yarn packs, you can get both patterns from the yarn pack, or you just need 50 grams of 5 colours and it will do both patterns. So these are the mitts. Oh, I just love them. Absolute. My watch is on there, it's making it go a bit bulky, but that's because of my watch. I absolutely love them. So again, they're really easy. The mitt pattern's a little bit trickier for a beginner because it's a mitt pattern, but I've tried to keep it quite user friendly. So it's just eyelet rows. They're currently in test at the moment. I'm gonna say, I've got an itch again on my eye. I'm going to say the testers have been amazing. So they're both in test at the same time. So I have some people doing the shawl and some people doing the mitts. I was so specific about not having any mistakes in the pattern, but I forgot to check the row count. So I missed a row number off the shawl pattern and threw the whole rest of the shawl out. Luckily, the testers have worked through it. I've had to send an updated pattern to the testers and it's still got a mistake. Luckily, they have all been amazing and they've worked through it. So it's going to make me more aware in future to check row numbers. Luckily, I had an absolutely fabulous bunch of testers. I really did. And they managed to work through it. They know what I meant. The pattern was very clear. They knew what I meant, but my row numbers were all wrong. So I'd missed a row completely. So I'd said, like, I don't know, repeat X to X, but the row number wasn't there. So I had that to fix, all sorted now. But yeah, the testers were absolutely fantastic. The test doesn't finish till the 28th of June, so I'm hoping to bring it out on the 1st of July. Now, they are coming out together. So because this is such a simple shawl, I'm not comfortable charging for the pattern on this because it is a really simple shawl. So this will come free with the mitt pattern. I don't want to do it separately because, you know, the whole point is I design them together. So I want to keep them together. And I did and ahh and think, Alex, you really should do this separately. But I don't want to. I design them together. It's how I design them. So if you buy the mitt pattern, you'll get this one as well. So the mitt pattern is £4. So you'll get both for the same price. The shawl is... once you've done this, maybe the second section. Once you've done the second section, you probably won't need to refer to the pattern until right at the end. Basically, you go through each colour. You can see you go through each colour twice, and your last colour is just an eyelet row, just to give it a little bit of definition on the edge. And then you've got your mitt pattern. So yeah, you get the shawl pattern free with the mitt pattern. So it will be available, fingers crossed, on the 1st of July on the website and on Ravelry. But I'll talk to you about that closer to the time. But I did design those as well. So it's been quite a busy month in May. Oh, it smells so nice. The Eucalan that I've washed it in, it smells amazing. It really does. Right, so that is all of the knitting. I've got an acquisition to show you as well. This is Knit Group enabled as well. So, when you have that book, darling, that you laid on. One of the ladies at Knit Group brought this book in to show us that, you know, like you do, look what I've bought. And we were all looking through it and I fell in love. Now, there was a particular pattern that I fell in love with, and I was just blown away, absolutely blown away. I did find the book. Now, I've noticed it's advertised everywhere now. Wool Warehouse have been advertising it. Black Sheep Wools have been advertising it. So it's obviously something new that's come out. I wasn't sure how old the copy, you know, how old the book was, how long it had been in publication. But it's obviously something new because I've seen it advertised everywhere. And it is the Hayfield at Home with Margaret Holzman. So I did go ahead and get the book. Now, isn't it amazing? It's just absolutely amazing. So this is all knitted blanket patterns, and there are some lovely ones in, but the one that got me, the one that made me say, right, I'm having it, I'm going to show you last. Okay, so can I do it this way? So I don't want you to see the last one yet. So there is that one. That's called Daybreak. And all of the yarn is meant to be Hayfield Bonus DK. So we've got that one. This one is fab. I'm having to show you it like this so you don't see any patterns. There you go, look at that. They get better. I won't show you them all, actually. This one I loved, and I will be making this one. But it wasn't the deal breaker, but I did love it. So it's all knitted, it's not crochet. The deal breaker for me. Oh, you stuck? You alright, darling? You okay, sweetheart? Okay, darling. Now, the deal breaker for me is Christmas colours, but I'm not going to be doing it in Christmas colours. I'm going to be doing it in probably Scrappy. Are you ready for this? It's a sock blanket. Isn't it amazing? I fell in love. So that is one fabulous book. If you are into knitted blankets like I now am, I never used to be, but I am now. It is a fabulous book to have. I'm so pleased I managed to actually get a copy of it. I'll link in the description box below where you can buy a copy. I know Wool Warehouse have been advertising it, so I'll probably link that one. But yeah, it's just fabulous. And that's everything. So that is all of the knitting content done. If you want to stick around to find out why I've had such a rubbish May, you are welcome to. If you are going and you only wanted to be here for the knitting, that's absolutely fine. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you on the next video. If you are sticking around, grab yourself a cuppa. So I don't know where to start. We'll just start with the timeline of what happened first, I think. So it's been quite a stressful month. It really has. So I know I've talked about it on the channel before, how important smear tests are and one thing and another. That I have had a LETS procedure done. I think it was 2010 where they took away some bad cells. And I've always said, smear tests are important. So the past 3 years I've been on a smear recall. And it was for the, what's it called? The human papillomavirus, which is quite common. So they've been calling me back every year because of it. So this time, when they did the smear, they said they're probably going to call you into colposcopy if it comes back again. I think it takes your body a couple of years to fight it, but it's been on the past 3 smears. So they did call me in for that. So that was Tuesday just gone. I had my colposcopy. And it's just, it's one of those things you try not to worry about, but it's on your mind all the time. So I went on Tuesday and I went in, and the nurse was very, very lovely. She said, there's nothing for you to worry about. You know, we're just going to have a look. I'm not expecting to find anything. We're just going to have a look and hopefully just put your mind at rest. Well, it turns out they did find something. And in typical Alex style, she said, we need to take a biopsy and find out what this is, which is concerning in itself. But it was such a small area, she couldn't get a clear biopsy, which it's just so typical. So she's done her best and she tried to get a decent biopsy. She said, but it's just so small, I think it's going to come back as insufficient sample. So she said, all I can do is have you back in to see me in 3 to 6 months' time, and we're going to have another look and see what's going on. So she said not to worry, but obviously the worry monster's sitting just on the outskirts there, and I'm really having to fight it away because there's nothing I can do. She's done her best to get a sample and she doesn't think it'll be sufficient. So all I can do now is just wait until the next appointment, which is in 3 to 6 months' time. So I'm trying really, really hard, you know, just to not worry and just be like, right, okay, there's nothing I can do. Can I change it? No. Can I make my appointment come any quicker? No. All I can do is wait. So that's what I have to do. So it's been that was hard enough to deal with. But like I say, I'm just trying not to worry. There's nothing I can do, absolutely nothing. They've done as much as they can do. So, and I kind of think in my mind, I'm telling myself it's been there 3 years. So anything sinister would have developed by now. My actual smear came back as no abnormalities. So it was just the virus. So I'm just trying to keep positive. So that was my first thing, which was bad enough. And then, do you remember me saying that the dog had been poorly? I think it was the end of March. She'd been poorly and we'd taken her to the vets. I thought she'd had some kind of stroke. And we'd taken her to the vets and they thought that she'd eaten something funny in the garden, like a mushroom or something funny. And she was fine the next day. So this was the end of March. So in between then and now, she had another episode. Not as bad, but she'd had another episode of this. And I was like, do I take her to the vets or do I just leave it for the day and see how she goes? But she kind of rallied within a few hours. So I just thought, no, I'll just monitor her. The vet we know was very, very certain when we took her in March, it had been something that she'd eaten. So on Friday, when I got up Friday morning, she was very, very same again. Really not great at all. So I was kind of monitoring her, bearing in mind it was a bank holiday weekend. And as the day progressed, she just continued to get worse. So I'd rung the vets. And when I say she got worse, she was shaking. She was really shaking, which isn't really unusual for Rube. Rube is a dog, by the way. I've not mentioned that if you knew. It's not really and she's fine. Before I go any further, I'm not giving any sad stories. She is fine. I don't want to trigger anybody. She's fine. But yeah, so she was shaking. It's not over unusual for Ruby. She's a pug, which I'll talk about that in a minute. So she's a pug and she does get cold. She's very, very small. So it's not over unusual that if the weather's a bit cold, she'll shake. And it was cold on Friday and we'd had the hot weather. So I was like, But then there was like little bits of leakage coming from her. And I was like, oh, something really not right. So the vets had phoned and I told them and they said, right, just bring her down and let's just have a look at her. So it was about 5:15, something like that. She was walking. It wasn't as bad as when she was in March. In March, she wouldn't even move. She was walking. I got a lead on her. She jumped into the car and we took her down to the vets and got her on the table, and the vet had spotted some of this leakage and she says it's pyometra. She said, I know it's pyometra because it's a classic sign. So she goes, we're going to do an ultrasound now and just have a little look just to confirm it. So they let me carry her in for the ultrasound, and I stayed with her when she had that done, and it was very, very, very nasty. So they said she needs to go into surgery now, because if that bursts, it's obviously fatal. So she went straight into surgery. So I think we left her at 6:15. So I was panicking. I didn't know anything about pyometra. I didn't know. They couldn't give me a lot of information about anything because they just wanted us straight in. So I didn't get given a lot of information. To make it worse, because of the time, she said you can't, their phones switch over at 7 o'clock. So she said after 7 o'clock you can't ring us, you're just going to have to sit and wait for us to ring you. So I came home, and that's when I was doing all the Googling. And I'd Googled these operations. So in effect, it's a neuter operation, but it comes with a lot more complications when they've got pyometra, because everything's enlarged with the infection, and all the blood vessels are obviously enlarged. And the vet had warned me that the surgery was, did have some quite large risks with it because of the severity of how bad it was. And she said, there is a chance that she's not going to come through. So I was absolutely panicking. We'd left her at 6:15, and it was just such a long time till the vets actually rang. So they did ring back at 9 o'clock, and she was fine. She'd come through the surgery and she was absolutely fine. They were so good with her. It was quite funny because the vet said she's not quite come round from the anaesthetic yet. She's still quite dozy. He said, but she's being quite vocal. He said she shouldn't be in pain. He says, but I'm just going to monitor her. Sorry, I've got a runny nose. 1 second. Sorry, my nose was really running. He said, I'm just going to monitor her over the next half an hour, he says, because she is really being quite vocal, and I could hear her through the phone. She was howling, and I said, no, she'll do that because I'm not with her. And he said, really, are you sure? And I said, no, she does that. If I leave the house, she does that. And it was so loud that Danny could hear her. And obviously he wasn't sitting next to me, and he could hear through the phone. And I said, honestly, she'll do that because I'm not there. So when we got there, he said, right, he said, I'm still want to leave her half an hour, he says, because I just need to be sure that she's not in any pain. And he said she's quite cold as well, so she's under a heat lamp. So when we got there at 9:30 at night. And obviously all the vets closed. So he let us in the front door, and I could hear her. And he said, I'm just concerned about the howling, he said, because she hasn't stopped since she's come round. He said, so it's just concerning me a little bit. And then he said, well, you may as well come all the way in. So we went in, and she stopped like that. And he went, oh, right, okay, I believe you now. I said, no, she does do that. But no, she was absolutely brilliant. She really was. So we got her home. She had a really good night. She just zonked for the rest of the night. And she went back yesterday morning for everything check-in. Everything's fine. She's got a cone on which she absolutely hates. And I mean hates. I've talked about it in the Facebook group. And a few people in the Facebook group have recommended the inflatable rings. And I may try it, but not just yet, because Ruby is such a licker. She's like Houdini, the position she can get herself into. And the inflatable cones, I'm not sure, because her wound is quite large, because it was so severe. The wound's about this long. So I just don't want her getting at an angle. They've put her a larger cone on, so if she bends, the cone comes past the wound. So she could get to a butt to lick a butt, but she can't get any further in. And I'm not sure that an inflatable ring would do the same thing. I think there's a reason they've put the larger cone on her, because she's a little monkey. She's like Houdini. Yeah, so she's done really well. It actually, the vet said it weighed 600 grams. That's how severe it was. I kind of think she's had it since March. It must have been building. Yeah, 600 grams is what they took out of her, and she only weighs 7 kilos. Well, she doesn't weigh 7 kilos now. She weighs 6.5. So it was quite, it's quite a thing. But yeah, she's doing really well. So I'm going to show you her now. There's nothing, you can't see anything, so nobody has to be squeamish. You can't see anything in the position that she's laid in, but she is here. Are you ready? Here she is. So, because she can't jump, she wants to sit on the sofa. She's used to sitting on the sofa. That's where she sits. So I was very concerned if she was going to try and A, jump on the sofa if I lifted her onto the sofa, B, jump off. So Danny's made her a ramp. You're going to laugh when you see this. But I actually think it's just genius, absolutely genius. You know, I do the step workouts. So he's used the step from the step workout. I'm going to flip the camera around. Hang on. There you go. He's put a blanket on it so she doesn't slide, so she can get on and off the sofa quite easily. There she is. See what I mean about a mess? I've just not tidied up. I've just been sat with the dog. Genius, isn't it? Absolute genius. And she can use it really, really well. So yeah, it's just brilliant. So nobody else can sit on the sofa because nobody else can get past the step. And if anybody, like any people, stand on it, it just collapses. It doesn't for the dog. So yeah, it's just great. But yeah, I've done nothing, absolutely nothing since Friday. Advents went out. We did, Danny went and shipped them on Saturday. Well, some went out Friday and some went out Saturday. So they went out. But other than that, we've just sat with the dog. We got obviously no sleep Friday. We didn't get much. We didn't have the best night's sleep last night because last night, bless her, the anaesthetic had completely worn off. We've put her in our bedroom. She's not used to being in our bedroom, but I'm so concerned that she's thirsty because she's not judged the cone at all. So we're still holding the water bowl, right under her chin so she can get a drink every hour. Well, it turns out she can get a drink because I caught her doing it at 4 o'clock this morning after I'd been up the hour previously given a drink, so she can do it. But we've got her in our bedroom just for peace of mind for me more than anything. I won't sleep if she's not in the bedroom. I need to be able to keep an eye on her. So she's not used to sleeping in the bedroom. It's not her routine. So last night she was just really unsure what was going on. She kept getting up and looking at me as if saying, "Why am I here, Mum? What's going on?" She normally sleeps in a bed outside the bedroom doors. And, that's where she's always slept and she's fine with that. So we've had a couple of nights of just no sleep. I'm kind of like just walking around in a daze at the moment. But she's doing really, really well. She's back at the vet's on Tuesday. And then after that, she's got a 10-day check. And then she's signed off. Which leads me in to shop update. Obviously, emergency surgery for a dog is, you all know, we all love our animals so much. And we do whatever it takes. We have a ginormous vet bill. Absolutely ginormous. So we need a good update. So, excuse me. We are going to be selling all yarn from, we're going to start it on the update day. All yarn is going to be 30% off everything. In fact, I may start it sooner, but I'll let you know on the YouTube community page and Facebook group and one thing and another. All yarn is going to be 30% off, including the update yarn. And it's just for us to say, if that you are thinking about buying any yarn, please think of us. Because we kind of, it's all we can think to do. So all yarn will be 30% off. And hopefully we can put some money towards Ruby's vet bill. It was £2,000, which obviously we didn't. Who has that? Oh, one sec, the cat wants to come in now, one sec. Sorry, if I didn't let him in, he would have just clawed at the window and so he wouldn't have stopped. So yeah, we are going to be doing a huge sale, and hopefully so we can raise some funds for our vet bill. So everything will be 30% off throughout June. Like I say, I may start it a few days earlier. We do have a lot of yarn in stock in the shop, so it'd be really good to see some of it go. So if you are considering buying any hand-dyed yarn, please think of us. And hopefully that will just help us out in our time of need. We are also going to be doing June vlogs. So although I'm saying we're going to be putting all the yarn for sale at 30%, and I feel really bad, but it's all we can think to do. We will come back and we'll do June vlogs as well. So we're normally I'm all tongue-tied. It's an uncomfortable conversation for me, is this. Normally with any kind of vlogs, I don't vlog on a weekend, but June the 1st is a Saturday. So I will start the June vlogs on June the 1st, and I'll vlog right the way through, and then the following weekend I won't vlog. The only reason we don't do vlogs on a weekend is it's because we don't do anything. Normally, I say it all the time, we're so busy through the week that when it comes to a weekend, it's just that when you have your own business, you don't switch off. And anybody that's got a small business will tell you this. You just don't switch off. You know, you're answering emails up until late at night. You're just thinking, I'll just do this, because you work from home, you work for yourself, nothing stops. So you end up working a lot more hours that you would do if you went out to work 9 to 5. So when it comes to a weekend, I really try hard, A, not to work, but B, just to switch off. So if we are vlogging, that's why I don't vlog on a weekend. Sometimes, you know, we do go out and we do things on a weekend, but I just need to switch. There has to be a switch off point. So that's what I take that weekend when we're vlogging. It's really important. So we are going to be doing June vlogs. I know that a lot of you have been saying you've been missing the videos. So we'll be back for vlogging. It won't affect the podcast because the podcast is now monthly. So I'll just do that at the end of June vlogs, so it won't affect the podcast at all. But yeah, we are back for June vlogs starting on the 1st of June, which is a Saturday. So yeah, that's exciting. That's going to be really exciting. I was going to say something else, and I can't remember what I was going to say.
You won't miss me.
That's Danny. Can you hear him? Danny loves vlog. I've got a really runny nose and I don't know why. Hang on. Sorry about that. My nose is just running. Yeah, so there was something else I wanted to say and I kept thinking I need to remember to say that on the podcast and I've completely forgotten. This is why I should keep notes. And this is what I say on every single podcast episode. I should keep
Editing
notes.
Alex here. What I wanted to say was there is no live dye this month. We haven't replaced the camera yet that broke last month. So that was the other bit. I was really trying hard to remember there is no live dye this month. Hopefully it will be back next month.
But yeah, so June vlogs, we'll be back for June vlogs, which start next weekend. And I'm so looking forward to it. We haven't vlogged since, I think it was February. So we haven't vlogged for 3 months, which isn't like us, because we vlog more or less every other month. So it's not like us at all. But there's been a lot of appointments going on. You know, I had my whole colonoscopy thing. Do you remember that? I had all that done in March. And then there's just been one appointment after the other. So it hasn't really been, I haven't been able to vlog really over the past few months. But no, we will be back for June. When I'm asking you to buy a hand-dyed yarn, I want to be able to give something back as well. So we'll be back for June vlogs and we will hopefully have a lovely month together. But yeah, so I had put it in the Facebook group about the dog. So I just want to thank everybody in the Facebook group for their lovely, lovely messages. Everybody's been so kind. And do you know what's warmed my heart? Everybody's been sending little doggy pictures for Ruby. It's just been lovely. Absolutely lovely. It really has. But yeah, she's doing really, really well.
She's absolutely fine. Oh, and yeah, that's the other thing that I wanted to tell you. So she can't work the cone at all. She's bumping into everything, obviously. But she has worked out she can herd me. So what she does is when she wants something and I get up and move, she gets the cone against the back of my calves and she just pushes me. So she can push me where she wants me to go, usually the kitchen for chicken. So she's worked that out. Absolute genius, honestly, absolute genius. She's been eating chicken and, well, she's had some special food from the vets. You know, that stuff that they give you when they've had an anaesthetic that's really gentle on the tummies, and she's been on chicken, so she's not obviously had any dog food yet. I'm going to give her a couple more days before I actually give her any dog food. So I'm going to have to nip out today and get her some more chicken because she's run out. And she's still on her painkillers, and she won't have the painkillers unless it's on chicken, so I kind of need it for the next 5 days anyway. It's the only way you can get the Metacam. If I put it on the chicken, she'll eat it, no bother. If I put it on something else, she knows it's there and she won't touch it. But chicken, she adores. So, yeah, I think that's everything. So, do you know what? I feel like it's been a really weird podcast, and I think those of you that are regular viewers and that know me so well will be okay with it. And I don't know if maybe you're a new viewer, you might just think, what was that about? But I hope that you've all had a fabulous, fabulous month. I'm sorry I'm a little bit and out of things. I'm so tired. I'm just so tired. The shop update is on Saturday. We're a little bit behind with dyeing because obviously we didn't get anything done Friday or yesterday or today. I'm not dyeing tomorrow, so I won't be dyeing till Tuesday. So it's going to be a tight turnaround for us to have the yarn done. We've just fallen behind. The advents have all been shipped. They're on the way. Some of them should have arrived yesterday, and some will arrive on Tuesday, with it being the bank holiday. Maybe some Wednesday. Excuse me. But I will put all the yarn that's going into the update on a YouTube community post and on Facebook. And I just hope that you all understand that I'm just tired. But I didn't want to miss the podcast because I'd mentioned in a couple of comments that the podcast was being filmed on Sunday. So I did want to stick and get that filmed. And I didn't want to miss it. I didn't want to let anybody down. So hopefully you enjoyed the podcast in its weird form. And I hope that you all have a lovely, lovely month. If you're joining me, or us, sorry, for the vlogs, we'll see you on Saturday. So have a lovely month, week, however it is before you join us again. I hope that you get lots of crafting done. And Ruby sends slobbery kisses to all of you that have left her birthday well wishes. Thank you so much, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.